What up, nerds? And welcome to Token Minority Report, the Unsafe Space art and entertainment podcast. The show format is changing up a bit, so I'm going to focus more on pop culture-y stuff. But before we get into all that, I am Beverly, and today is Thursday, May 19th, 2022. As a reminder, we have the next book club on June 12th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. The book will be House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski and hosted by our very own Alex Maselli. We have a free association interview tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, I think, where Carter interviews Scott Horton once again. So be sure to check that out. Is that everything? I think so. That's good enough. Okay, so with this series here, let me know, I guess, what topics you want us to talk about generally, because that'll be good to get feedback. I want to leave it broad enough to do art, entertainment, pop culture stuff too, in that umbrella. And I may still try to include some games and all that, but we'll see how that goes. If you guys want to post would you rather questions in chat, we'll do those. So joining me tonight, and hopefully regularly as my co-host moving forward, is the one and only Alex Maselli, aka Alex of all trades.
I'm actually not the one and only Alex Maselli.
You are. You're probably more rare than Beverly Clark is. Because someone did, when we were talking the other night, someone did a Google of my name, and it was 40 some million results that came on. And I guess that's the first time that I've said my last name on this particular show, though. So I just doxed myself.
Well, I looked myself up years ago, and there is a golf writer named Alex Maselli.
Ooh.
And it's spelled exactly the same way.
Did you say golf writer?
Golf.
Someone who writes about golf?
Golf, yeah.
Intriguing. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a thing, huh?
I know. And, I'm surprised I didn't know about him before, because my dad grew up from 6 years old playing golf and working in a pro shop. So
oh, really? Oh,
yeah. So it's kind of funny. I would have thought I would have already heard of him, but I didn't learn
it's
about
a male Alex.
A male Alex.
I think I've told you before. I love Alex as a girl's name, because I've written at least one story or scripts. So multiple times, where I've used I like. Maybe this is gonna sound woke of me, but I like nicknames, guy nicknames for girls. I like Charlie for Charlotte, and Alex, and probably other ones too. But yeah, I don't know.
Funny thing is, though, is that my name is
Alex. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
Not
before. Yeah,
Alexandra or Alexis or Alexia or whatever. Yeah. It's literally Alex. That is what's on my birth certificate. I don't have a longer name. It's Alex.
Yeah, that's unexpected. Both parents were in on that decision.
Really, more my mom.
Okay, yeah. I would do the same.
She chose the name.
I birthed this child I'm naming. Through all that work.
I think the boy name choice was James, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You should do the opposite of a boy, a boy named Sue kind of thing, where
God.
my friend said that she always wanted twins, a boy and a girl, and then would name them both Madison.
She's mean.
She was genuine though, that's what she wanted. But her name was Wednesday, so she's already a weird girl.
Yeah. She's a little cursed.
So hello, Johnny Boy Quick Draw. Hello, Eloise. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's how I would expect. Vale Ned, hello. Johnny Boy needs to get right with our new scheduling. How about a separate show with a small group just for games? I think that'd be fun. You mean which kind of games? You want us to do video games or tabletop games? I'm down for either, and we'll be terrible at both.
Yeah. If you mean video games, my God, do I have a lot of content for you.
We still need to stream. I don't know how to stream online together, but will you play Left 4 Dead with me at some point?
Sure. I don't know if I have that game or not.
Oh, really?
No.
The second one, Left 4 Dead 2, because the first one didn't have melee. I think it was only guns. and I thought that was lame. And because the second one you can fight with a katana and a guitar, and I was like, yeah, yes, please.
Okay, I know which game you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's too many games with dead in the title that I've
no, zombie game.
All of them.
I always loved playing it, and I was always terrible at it. So I always need to play with someone else who can like lead the way, because I'm bad at first person and scared of zombies. But what can you do? Tree Goblin, which the actual guitar, because I did play the keytar last week. So if you weren't here, then you missed out on that. But maybe I could do a guitar. Or I could swing at a zombie if we get a zombie around here, you know. But I have a lot of guns. I'd probably just use the guns. I'm a lot better at guns in real life than in video games.
Like, I've got guitars around too, but I probably wouldn't use one of them.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to do. I mean, like the acoustic would be good. The electrics are heavy, so that might be it. Okay, Tree Goblin. Maybe I'll do the guitar later for you. Okay. Hi, G-Man. welcome. Okay. I guess we've delayed a bit. So which I'm okay with. Yeah. I like a little bit of chat because people come in late.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's see. So first topic, I guess we can just jump right into talking about Doctor Strange, the new film. What is it? The Multiverse of Madness? I keep mixing up which order the M's go. It was like the madness of the multiverse.
No, and the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah.
Yeah, in the multiverse. He's in the Multiverse of Madness. Yes. So I saw it a couple weeks ago now, I think, in theaters, and we might do spoilers here. So if you guys don't want that, then turn this off now, or just put us on mute and then just watch us, because we want you to stay and be on this game.
Yeah.
Just
give us the views.
Yeah. I don't care if you hear us, just watch us. Okay, so first, what did you think of it? Because you watched it the other day, right? And as we on Friday the 13th, we both watched the movie the one movie the day of, and I already forgot everything at that time. So this was 2 weeks ago. So I've also forgotten everything even more in this movie. So I'd like your opinion first, and then to help me jog my memory.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think Doctor Strange is one of the best MCU movies. Like 9 out of 10. It's an amazing film. The first film.
Okay.
So, but I was kind of.
I remember that one now.
Yeah, really. But that, like, and I've written about it, about why it's so good. Like, I literally wrote.
Can you read your article? So, or you can just kind of summarize it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, okay. First of all, everyone at the time was talking about how it was like Iron Man. It was just Iron Man Redux, and I was like, hell no, that is not what's going on. Because first of all, the whole point in Doctor Strange is that he has narcissistic personality disorder, and it's very obvious.
Yeah.
And Tony Stark does not have narcissistic personality disorder.
He is full of himself. So I guess where do you think that line is drawn?
Okay, so like one of the biggest signs that one of them has it and one of them doesn't is that Doctor Strange has a specially made in his home trophy case.
Oh, okay? Yeah.
He literally goes to any kind of, if someone's giving him an award, they will freaking rush out to go to that. He loves it. He absolutely loves it. First movie, Iron Man. He does not show up for the award that his best friend is presenting the award to him. And then when he does finally give it to him, what does he do? He immediately passes it off to some random employee at the casino and doesn't care one bit about it.
Okay.
And that's like a huge sign between the two that Tony Stark does not have narcissistic personality disorder.
I like that you jump right in. We're talking psychology. I love it.
Yeah, I know, immediately. Well, that's one of the reasons why I love Doctor Strange so much is that, he had narcissistic personality disorder, and it was that meets the Eastern philosophy of the destruction of self. Literally, to some extent, the destruction of self.
Yeah.
And to me, that was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant, especially for a freaking superhero movie. Like, I was not expecting that.
That's what. So, like, when I was first getting into the Marvel movie, I wasn't like a big superhero person ever. And then my boyfriend does not really like DC stuff at all. And for him though, he the way he explained it was like Marvel, he liked that the people were flawed. Like you had the heroes that had, instead of like DC, you're just kind of like, oh, I'm Superman and I'm perfect except for like the one little thing, you know, whatever else. Like, or even if some might have a little bit more story or less powers or something, it just, I guess like a lot of the Marvel characters kind of are more rounded in a way, or just like are more human, that are like you just have like one or two powers but you're not like able to do everything. So, and at first, because I'm coming from just like, oh, it's a superhero, like no, you're supposed to be super, like that's how all I know is that like you're supposed to have all the powers and do everything. I'm like, why would you want someone to be flawed? But so then when I got like, no, you know, that's right, that's a good point, that like you should have more human and see like the other side of it. So yeah.
Well, and so the problem I have then with this sequel is that, first of all, they changed directors, which I felt like cat butt right in the camera.
Cat butt.
Is that the original the director of the first Doctor Strange movie was a fan of Doctor Strange and really like captured a lot
comics.
But still made a really good movie too. And then we get Sam Raimi, which I'm a fan of Sam Raimi. I complain about him a lot.
Really?
He's flawed, but I really like him. And this is clearly a Sam Raimi movie. Like there is no way around it. Like I'll admit, seeing Bruce Campbell is always great. As much as like Benedict Cumberbatch, seeing Bruce Campbell beat the shit out of himself is always a pleasurable
experience. Do some physical comedy.
Yep, exactly. And then, but then there's all the undead stuff, and that is very Sam Raimi, obviously.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, I don't remember. But my boyfriend, when he saw it, was just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it's because I guess I can't speak for him, but it was like I just wasn't thinking about like it, like that Sam Raimi was on my radar as far as like directing the film, even though it's just like, oh, in hindsight it's 2020, where I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, like everything that we saw through this. But it was just kind of like, what the whole time I'm like, what are they for the second one, like what are they doing? So the first one, we liked it. Like the second one, not so much for you, I take it.
No. Well, and it kind of has a problem that the second Iron Man had, that Jon Favreau complained about, you know, when he came back and directed the second one, wherein they're like, we got to add all our MCU characters. We got to introduce an MCU character. We've got to build on the MCU, you know, universe. They do that in Doctor Strange too, you know, and it makes it not so much a Doctor Strange movie, unfortunately.
Yeah. When you're trying to share, and especially when it's like you have, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe at most like 2.5 hours for I don't know the time length of this latest one.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's why I'm not generally a fan of movie. I like TV shows more than movies, because you get to like sit and learn about the characters, and like it doesn't have to be like here's one big thing after the next. Like you get to like spend time with them, and then in movies you really have to edit things down, and you don't always get as much character growth. So, but then, and when you're trying to share the screen with other MCU characters and stuff too, then you're just like, okay, well this is fun.
Yeah, they had to introduce America Chavez, which was like not a character I'd care that much about, honestly.
Yeah, because they didn't really. It was just like, here's my sob story a little bit, but then I'm like the tough. It's like there's a way to do it, but then you also don't have enough time to really get to know and care about the girl.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Well, and then I mean, I like this spoiler incoming. I do like the idea that Wanda is our villain. Some people who probably were just MCU fans and not like comic book fans could have been put off by that. But if you like know comic books and you know like Wanda's like
she goes,
she goes crazy and does insane things to like lots of people in a lot of different storylines in the comic book. So it's, to me, it's sort of like, yeah.
It makes sense that that they're kind of sticking to it. And I don't know too much about it. Again, most of what I know is just through my boyfriend explaining things to me, also during movies too, because again, like I never remember what happened in prequel stuff. So then I have to do like, who's this person? What's going on?
Yeah.
The
There's
worst.
too many characters though. I mean, like some of the things that they're clearly fan service, like, look, it's Professor X. And it's like, yeah. And they literally brought in Black Bolt from the Inhumans TV show, which was, by the way, terrible. If you've not seen it, it's so bad. It's such a bad TV show. It
was the same actor?
It is the same actor. It is, actually. And it's like, oh, you really want to tie into that piece of crap that you guys put out? Okay.
Yeah, like, right? Like, oh, so leave that alone.
Like, maybe not. Let's not talk about it.
Can we talk for a second on something? I have no idea what the information is. John Krasinski. I love him. And I thought, that it's neat to have brought him in. But I haven't really watched anything in the last few years, and I saw like he had like a YouTube channel for a minute, and when I heard his voice, it's like higher than it used to be. Like in The Office, it was deeper, and I'm curious. Did something was his original deep voice not his real voice that he put a lower voice on, or did something happen that his voice is higher now? Do you know? Does anyone in chat know? Like,
I don't know.
There's a definite difference because he talks to the higher, and it kind of sounds like to me. And again, I have no idea, but it kind of just sounds like he had an injury or something that makes his voice like a little bit like I don't know that it just kind of had this like strain to it, but it's definitely higher pitch than it was in The Office. And I'm curious if that was just natural that with age, or if something happened, or he's doing it intentionally. So, but just throwing that out there. If anyone could answer that question, I'd be very interested.
I had to like basically like pause and like, because I was having a bit of a freak out because they introduce him, Reed, and they're like, the most intelligent man in the universe is literally what someone says. And then when Wanda shows up, he says, Black Bolt can destroy you with a single word. And I literally was like, don't tell her that, you moron.
Well, because then he said something about like, oh, like with his mouth, and like what mouth? Yeah.
She did the Matrix thing where he didn't have a mouth anymore, and I was like, sure, he's the smartest man in the universe, sure.
But then people like intelligence and wisdom, so maybe like he was really smart, but then he just wasn't like wise enough to know to not reveal that information. And G-Man says probably from the steroids he takes for Hollywood films. That's what I was wondering too, if it was like drugs that did it, but I didn't want to like throw that out there. Also want to just do the super chat real quick. Thank you so much, Judge Lot. # Beverly Clark. So white. Laughing face, laughing face, laughing face. And then he says, I basically quit the MCU after Endgame. Well, I'm sorry, Judge. Like at least 3 of the topics we're talking about is going to be MCU stuff.
Yeah.
But unless that is, spoilers won't matter to you.
Yeah. I love what JB says. Unfortunately for Reed, his writers were not nearly so smart.
Yeah, that's the tough part, though. Like, I think that's whenever you try to write, not even just for intelligent characters, but it's like if someone needs to be well informed in any topic, and then the writer, and I feel that way too. I'm like, oh, I want this character to know these things, but I don't know any of these things. I need to so then you have to research it or talk to other people, and then I just go down rabbit holes.
I read a novella this week where someone had like a teacher come from California to Montana, and I was like, did she get new credentials? Because you have to, like, most states have their own credential system for teaching positions at public schools. Oh. There's nothing in there about it. They're like, yeah, you can just move wherever you want when you're a teacher.
Just real quick, generally, like, I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to like, movies and TV shows. If it makes me laugh, I'm probably gonna like it, whether it was intentionally funny or not. Like, then I'm like, but there are like certain things like I'll complain about like small stuff that kind of gets me. And I was thinking about that with some commercials that I keep seeing recently, at least on Hulu. I don't know if you've seen them. There's, what is it? One is the Indeed commercial. I just saw that today. It's talking about like a girl. She works from home, but now her roommate has so she's taking up drums. So now she's drumming. Like, I need to find a new job. And then the interviewer is like, it says that you are willing to relocate. And she's like, yes, I am. Like, But you work remotely already. If you're trying to just move apartments, why not just get a new apartment and keep your job, though? Because you're already working from home. So it's just kind of like, I can't suspend my disbelief in this commercial to say, like, why? And then the same thing, too. What's the other? I don't even know what commercial it's for, but it's a woman. She's asking her husband, like, what's the password to this thing for a bill? And he's giving like really silly answers for like the passwords are bad. And just like, oh, so you're saying the husband here is kind of like the dunce in it. And I was like, I can't suspend my disbelief that the husband was the one who registered these accounts and like started the pat when the woman is clearly the one paying the bills and like being responsible and stuff. So like, so it's just like really small things like that where I'm like, this really bothers me and I can't, it takes me out of this commercial for me.
I haven't seen a commercial in so long. Like, I have to go out of my way to watch a commercial.
I can't afford to hire Hulu with the ad-free commercials. So.
Well, I mean, that's why I canceled my Netflix, is because they said they were going to put ads in there. And I was I literally won't do it.
I didn't know that they were doing that.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing is that like they think it's so funny because they lost a lot of subscribers when they did Cuties, but then they lost a lot of subscribers recently. And they said it was because, we're doing all these animated TV shows no one wants. And it's like, well, that's true, but that's not actually why people are canceling their subscriptions. They're canceling their subscriptions because you're telling them that you're going to charge them and give them ads.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And like, literally, if they reverse that decision, I'll get Netflix again. I mean, especially since they canceled Anti-Racist Baby. I'm totally cool with having them back, but I'm not paying for ads.
Was that a show?
It was a show that they were going to make for kids. Yeah. And they canceled it. It's like, yes, good decision. Now you just need to reverse the decision about, putting ads in there.
I wonder, did they have a theme song? And I'm just like picturing like the building blocks in like stop motion and then the music kind of go, anti-racist babies.
Oh God, it would be horrible.
Okay. So sorry for that tangent, but then it just reminded me of just like, so that's what I'm particular on, where it'll just be like really specific small things that I'm like, why? But a lot of times too, it'll be like characters. Like I don't like if a character, I love and hate horror movies because I need to like, obviously they have to make terrible decisions in horror movies though. But then it's like, well, why would you do that? Or especially if you were written as like you're a smarter character, like I can already tell like this is something that your character would not have done. But so within Doctor Strange, I don't remember what were you saying about that earlier? What was the thing where I took us off topic?
I complained about the Reed Richards thing.
Yes. The Wanda being again, spoiler alert, the bad guy there though, and just wiping them all out was like hilarious though.
It was actually really funny to watch her just steamroll them.
It reminds me of Deadpool 2, where it's like they do the whole like part of the movie is about him finding his team and then get all together and then just like in like 10 seconds everyone's dead.
Well, I just love the Illuminati's all like, yeah, we can handle her. We think you're more dangerous. And it's like, she doesn't care. She will literally kill everyone here. She does not give a shit. Right. And they don't get it. And it's like, honestly, if I were to, even from the comic books, if I were to choose which one I was more afraid of, it's Wanda every fucking time. That woman is terrifying because she's so unstable.
Yeah. And I do really like the dynamic of, because like, I guess emotionally it makes me sad because like, no, I want her to be a good person. I want her to be a hero. She's so powerful and it's awesome. But then it's like, oh, that's good storytelling though, of just like, yeah, she's really flawed and has a lot of psychological issues, and understandably so. And especially when you have so much power and you're getting it from like dark forces that are gonna take you over. So it's
like, because before she even got the corrupting book, which is the thing that makes her worse, though, she literally mind raped an entire town of people for weeks. She did this for weeks. Show. I know, I love WandaVision. Okay. It's so good.
Especially because I really love all of the different decades of sitcoms that they did too. I'm like, they're nailing these styles.
I loved that. The thing I didn't like about the show, and the thing that made me not like put it as my number one MCU TV show for Disney Plus, was the Rambo character. Like they followed her too much, and I didn't care. Like I went to go back to Wanda.
That's the Rambo character, the daughter of Captain Marvel's best friend or something.
Best friend,
okay,
yes.
okay, yeah.
Who was that woman? Was Captain Marvel in the Illuminati version in the Doctor
is that who that was?
That's the same woman.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
it makes sense from the perspective of like it's an alternate universe, and
maybe
instead of it happening to
her,
it happened to the other woman.
Yeah.
Sense.
Oh, that does. Okay.
One of my problems though with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is the fact that what is it? The whole movie is like a remix of the What If TV show from Disney Plus.
Okay.
Which by the way, I did not like that show until the Doctor Strange episode, which was like number 4.
That was a cool episode.
It was a really good episode. It was really intense, very emotionally compelling episode. But it's almost the same. It's like practically this. I mean, they even have Captain Britain in both of them.
Yeah. But maybe that was kind of the point too, because I heard that like, that way you didn't have to watch that series. So I guess maybe they blended it in so that way it was like for those who haven't watched these things, then I don't know about WandaVision though. Like it seems like you probably should have watched that. I mean, to at least just kind of have some more context.
If you don't know anything about what her motivation is, really, if you haven't watched WandaVision, because in WandaVision you meet her fake kids, the kids she made up.
So it's like, why is she doing? I think that's one thing that I'm kind of confused about, where it's like, I understand when you make them up and then like emotionally, whatever is going on in your brain that you're like, yes, like these are real children. And then I know the multiverse exists and they're somewhere. But in WandaVision, they showed that Vision is like reborn in a way, and like and so he exists. So I thought she would like want to go and figure stuff out with him, but she seems like totally over him at all. And
I had a really hard time with that gaping hole of Vision in Doctor Strange. Because if Wanda is your villain and it's a huge chunk of the movie is focused on her, and you're in even multiverses, and then there's the white version of Vision in this universe, where the hell is he? Like the Wanda in the other universe who has her boys, is Vision
did
their
he
dad?
Die again?
Is he dead? Like what is the story there? I don't know, and I want to know. And that's one of the reasons why this isn't really a Doctor Strange movie.
I know, because
it's a Wanda movie.
Yeah, because there wasn't much character growth for Doctor Strange. I mean that happens with sequels sometimes too, because that's why sequels can be tough, because it's like you're in the first movie, but any media, any story, the main character should go through. There should be a rounded character, at least in my perspective, though, that like they should have character growth to some extent. Because if you don't grow at all, then it's called a flat character. And I'm just saying that. I know you know it, so just for anyone in the chat who doesn't. But I think that is more compelling in a story, though, to see that. But then once that movie happens, the sequel will suck if that character has to go through the same thing, and you're like, you already learned this, like you're already like you're complete in a way, so you have to take it a step further. And sometimes that ends up being like, well, now someone else has to learn it, and you might kind of be the mentor in it, or you have to learn a different lesson or something. Like it might be, rather than an internal lesson that you need to learn, it's something external. And so on one hand, I kind of see why Doctor Strange, like, he doesn't have the growth necessarily anymore, but there's still a way to write it where he is like an important aspect in his own film, like that he's necessary in it, rather than, because then it was just split too much. Like maybe if it were more just like the buddy film with like America and him, that could have worked. But then when you focus on Wanda, like going to her alternate reality to confront her alternate self and all that too, and it was just like, well, why? I mean, it's interesting, but I'm like, whose film is this?
Yes, exactly. Well, and that's the thing too, is that one of the jokes I made when I was watching it, because I couldn't help myself, is that part where he's possessing the deceased body in his universe version of himself. Yeah. And like he's struggling against those like wraiths essentially, and they're fighting him, and Christine says to him, "Use your mystic powers, Doctor. Stephen, use them." And I was like, and that's like literally all it takes for him to not struggle anymore.
And he's just like, "Oh yeah, I can fight."
I know. I was like, use my mystic powers. Why not think of that? Like, it was so stupid. That was like one of the like weirdest notes in that entire movie, is that moment. And I was like, why was he not thinking of this?
Was he not already using those powers? He's just, I forgot that I'm a sorcerer. I forgot.
Like it's like, what the hell?
Because I'm a zombie right now. I don't know. But I will say, like, I did like that he took over like the zombie body. Like, that was pretty hilarious to me.
Yeah. But that was very Sam Raimi. That was incredibly Sam Raimi.
It's a big thing for me that I just see. So with this movie, unlike most, if not all of the other Marvel movies, though, is that like there were times when we got bored where it was just kind of like, this is dragging on. There's why is this it just could have been edited better or written better. So it was just like, why do that? Plus some of this, like, it seemed like it couldn't settle on a style where it was like jumping around too much of like, now we're horror, now we're this, now we're like doing some weird stuff, or like different decades of there were like 70s feels of horror or 80s, but then it was just kind of like jumping around, and I just, it felt like it couldn't stick to one idea and go with it. And
yeah, when it came to like tone and artistic theme and character, it was an incredibly unfocused movie, like incredibly unfocused.
Yeah, that's a good word.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like it as much, is that it's like, that's too many parts of it to be unfocused. Honestly, it's like you can be unfocused on one level and it still be a relatively good movie, but to me, it's just, there was just way too many things that were just all over the place. It needed to be tightened, like story, character focus, theme, artistic tone, like all that stuff needed to be cleaned up a bit. And part of it is the fact that it's like, well, we have to do the MCU universe thing. We got to set shit up. And it's like, well, that is immediately a problem when it comes to character focus. Like, honestly, because then you've got to introduce all these things, because that's why we get a Professor X moment. That's why we get a Reed Richards moment, is because and that's why we get freaking Inhumans Black Bolt, is that it's not that's them prepping to do stuff with those characters. That's what that is. And then so much of that America Chavez stuff, like, oh, are we gonna follow her on a TV show a year from now trying to find her parents? Like, probably that's what's being set up. And that's kind of annoying. Like, it's like, I didn't come here for a movie about the MCU. I really came here for a movie about Doctor Strange, and that's not what I'm getting, really. And I think that's why I don't like it.
Yeah, that's what my boyfriend said, that like that Sam Raimi, like, there were too many big ideas that were supposed to be in this movie, and Sam Raimi isn't. He'd have trouble just doing one of those things, let alone like the 3, 4, 5 different ideas. So it was just too many big concepts for the MCU, and that was just. But I also was just in Sam Raimi's defense, it's a lot to take on. Like, if you're like, I have to throw in all of these things in one film, like, yeah, that was a bad idea. That like they needed to have focused on something, like on one or two.
I know a lot of directors for MCU movies don't come back, and one of the reasons why they don't come back is because of all the shit that Disney throws at them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they're like, do this, do that, do, you know, we want these things in there. And it's like they have this checklist of ideas they want, and directors are not used to that. Directors are used to creating a movie that people, you know, that like, I'm putting my name on this, it's gonna be my thing. And like more than a lot of other kind of ideas, creative content, directors expect the movie to reflect them. Like they do. Like you know, in a way that, and by that I mean like versus creative content that's made by a team. Like it is a team project, but the director really, really feels like it reflects them.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be, the director's vision on
exactly. Well, and then like I think it was I think it was Thor: The Dark World. The director was pissed about the end credit scene, which he didn't film.
I'm sorry, Alex.
Mad about it.
We need to take a quick duck break. So you can see the baby ducks real quick.
He's so cute.
Here's one. This one has a gimpy leg, and this one has is missing an eye. I think it's the other side of the eye. That's, you're not really in the camera. You gotta go.
Yeah, there you go.
Back it up.
So cute.
Yeah. So oh, you're so tiny. Whoop, you're gonna fall out. Sorry about that, but we needed some cuteness. Yeah, so we took them in because he works at a farm store, and then they sell like the chickens and ducks. And since those ones were flawed, we decided to take them, and they were free.
No. Well, they're cute.
So hopefully they make it. But anyway, sorry. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying that like the end credit scene at the end of the like Dark World was directed by, filmed by someone else, and the director was angry about it. I remember that he was like, it has my name on it, but it's not me. I didn't do that. Like, yeah, and he was legitimately angry about it. And I don't blame him. Like, why? I mean, it's kind of the problem with these MCU films and these we're creating a universe films is that there's so much studio involvement, and honestly, I'd rather have less studio involvement.
Right? Yeah, that's how I feel about, especially in writing, because I never like, it's the too many cooks in the kitchen thing too. So if I'm doing a sketch or something, I don't usually like, because it's like and directors, like it's all about their vision of what they want to put on there. And so, and everyone should be doing, like, we're trying to put what the director wants to see. And so then when you're having someone else tell you like, well, it needs to have these things, it needs to have these things, then you're like, but the directors, you're supposed to have the creative side of it. And it's, so that could be really problematic. So in writing though, too, like, it's just kind of like, here's my idea. But then when you throw in everyone else's ideas too, like, well, now we're getting away from the core concept that I wanted. And sometimes it can be fun. Like in improv, that was something that I had to change my mindset on though too, because instead of me having like a full concept, like this is what I want it to be, it was like, here's my initial idea, I have to stop my brain from thinking anything, and then everyone else's ideas you just take in, and you move
forward.
And so then I'm like, okay, and you can build something that like, oh, I never expected this, and this was fun too, but I had to switch, my brain from like writing a sketch myself versus like, let me improvise or like build something with other people. And so a director though, usually, like, I think, and at least in my experience though too, directing, like, this is my vision, and a lot of stuff I write too. So I'm like, no, this is what I have in mind for it. So this is what we're going to do. And I don't want other people telling me like, well, here's this thing.
Well, here's the thing is that I think directors who are willing to listen to like actors and people involved are smart. That doesn't mean they have to say yes to everything everybody says. But I think that kind of give and take is actually, but with them having final say, is actually good for movies, because sometimes an actor will come to a director with like, I don't think my character would say this or do this, or I think they would do it like this. And it does actually make more sense. And the director says, okay, yeah, you're right. And I think that works. I think that, I think that kind of play works. The problem is that these are directives coming from studios. We have a checklist of characters and moves we want you to put in your vision. And
Right.
that's not the same as the back and forth that I was just describing. That is, do this. That's what that is. And I don't think it works. Honestly, I don't. I think it creates this. I don't like movies written by committee, by marketing committee, especially.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, like, I work in marketing, but I'm like, I'm also a writer, though. I don't think that marketing should take place in the writer's room. And that includes when the director's vision, which is to me a form of story creation, obviously. So I don't think creating movies by committee works. I think it creates crap for the most part.
Yeah, I think anytime you have the checklist or you have the points that like it's like a Hallmark movie. I know I've been told that like Hallmark Christmas movies, like they have to have snow. They have to have like so like there's things that they absolutely to be a Hallmark Christmas movie, you have to have that. And so when it's formulaic and that works for them, but then it's just kind of like when you're told that you have to follow these specific, guidelines for Disney though, like that can be really limiting. And then especially when it's convoluted, so that you're kind of like, okay, this is too many. Like maybe if it was just some of it, but when you have like such a long list and you're like, I have to do all of this in one film and make it good, well, you get one or the other.
Yeah, really. I mean, they get their list. They obviously, because they would fire a director who didn't give them their list. If they didn't think that Sam Raimi was cooperating, they would have fired him. Like, I don't think that would have changed anything. If you push back, I think they just fire you at this point. And
because you're not going to follow.
Yeah.
You
But the thing is, some of the MCU ideas are stupid, like really dumb. Like when Feige was going on about, or however you pronounce his name, I don't know. He was going on about the fact that, oh yes, Thanos snapped half of all life. And I was like, wait. You mean he snapped not just sentient sapient beings, he also snapped like farm animals?
Does that include plants too? If it's all life,
because
then you're not actually solving any problems, though. If the point was
you're not solving any problems if you destroy all of the half of all the animals anyway,
right? Yeah, so if it's just humans, I mean, like you can kind of understand, like maybe with less people in the universe, then things could potentially. So I kind of get that, like diluted concept, but if you're going to destroy like the things, like you're making the problem is still going to be the same proportionally. It's
yes, exactly. That was my point. This is another thing that I wrote about. I wrote about how the snap would be an extinction event on Earth, that our ecosystem could not handle losing half of all life. And I limited it to animal life because when the snap happens, they're in a forest and we see none of the plants disappear. The thing is, though, is that Endgame confirmed that it was half of all life, because one of the things when they undid the snap, when Hulk snapped and brought back everybody, they were like, their confirmation was the fact that they saw more birds. And I was like, this is the dumbest idea ever. Like, if it was just half of all like sapient life, that would have made sense. I mean, his motivations never made sense to me ever. but from the point of view, like, think about it like this: how would our plant ecosystem work if half of all wild bees disappeared? in a world where we're already having a problem with bees. I was like, oh my god. I was like, I know that it's a little silly to get that into it.
No, but I think if they make certain comments that would affect the rest of it, like if you just leave it out, like, okay, that's fine. We can leave it ambiguous and we don't know or something. But when you confirm something, like, well, that just raises a lot more questions of like, here's more problems with the plot then.
Yeah. Well, and then like one of my problems though is that Thanos' motivation makes no sense. Like I know we're moving backwards, but like in the comic books, he's trying to to court death, literally.
Right,
she's a
right.
woman,
Yeah,
and he's trying.
Everyone's saying because Deadpool's like into her too and stuff. Like everyone.
Yeah. She's more into Deadpool than she's never been into Thanos.
Okay.
Thanos is really into her, so he wants to kill half of all of people
and make her happy. Yeah.
It's a weird courtship.
Well, it's what Thanos also did that with Nebula, right? Like he put her in a state of just like constantly dying forever to try and impress death, I think.
Yeah, I think he did do that. Yeah.
And then she's still kind of like, not good enough.
But then like in the MCU, it makes no sense though, because like, so you're going to destroy half of all of the population, even if, let's say it is just sapient life. And then you're going to destroy the stones, because that's what he did. Population growth is not static.
Right. Yeah. It's like a temporary fix, if anything. Like,
yeah. And then one of his complaints was like, there's war and famine and disease, and it's like, you mean those naturally occurring population control measures that already happen? Like, I was like, that's what those are for. That's literally why they happen, is because of overpopulation, like in animals too.
Right. Oh, yeah, that happens.
So I was like, is he like retarded? And like the fact that no one addresses any of these problems within the MCU, no one says you're an idiot.
I can't remember, like, does he really give like a more detail in his reasoning though too, that like to get rid of half of the humanoid population that will save the universe? Because like, does he get into that detail ever of like why he thinks? Because I can't remember.
He says it several times that it's about that if there was half as many people, and it's always random, so he's not choosing necessarily the people who
are best or worst for
that consume more than their fair share or whatever. No, it's just random. So it's a random sample. It's like, well, then you could technically kill like most of the women of a species. And still end that species. So to me, I'm like, first of all, that random thing is a problem.
That's a really,
but then like, he goes on and he's been on a journey to get the stones, but as he's on his journey to get the stones, he's also killing off half the population of all the groups he meets. So like, Gamora's planet, he killed half of all the people on her planet.
Oh, right.
And he tells her that, oh, have you been back to your planet? It's so wonderful there. And I'm like, in the 20 years since he killed half of everybody on her planet, their population, has it gone up or down? Like,
it's perfect. No one's aged. No one's had any babies.
He even says like clear skies.
Everyone's stopped any sort of procreation there once the people left.
I know. Now they're just at replacement levels.
Abstinent.
I'm like, oh my God. I don't know. It's so badly written. Like, that's the real issue here, is that he's badly written. Mm-hmm. And that's why I kind of was like really disappointed with Infinity War, is that I was like, is this just dumb? Like, it's literally dumb. And then I didn't look forward to Endgame because I was like, well, you kind of sour noted that. And like, Endgame was not that enjoyable to me either. So I was like, and that's the thing too, is that I looked forward to every single MCU film, like before Infinity War, every single one. And then they like really like screwed the pooch to me writing wise. And I was like,
what a disappointment.
Yeah. Like, screen the time continuum says Thanos is an eco-terrorist.
Yeah.
Eco-terrorists are not smart, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Let's pause and look at chat and see, just to kind of say hello to people. I saw that Screen Time Continuum also talked about Snailpocalypse, which I think someone else talked about Snailpocalypse going up against Sharknado. Yes, JB says later on there could be a crossover, Snailpocalypse versus Sharknado. Okay. And so I think, someone said that we're onto something here. I agree. Let's write this. Let's get this going. Hi, G-Man again. Is it Feig? How do you pronounce it? Is it Kevin Feige? Phage? Am I pronouncing it like beige?
I'm
gonna pronounce it like beige. Kevin Feige is what happens when you give a male feminist a little bit of power and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Hi, George Egorog. I see that it is just an anagram of George, but
yeah, it is.
I don't know. I hope it's your real last name. That would be amazing. Is it what? It's Feig. Oh yeah, that sounds like I've heard that name before. I don't know. I'm still gonna say rhyme it with beige. It's spelled like it, only with an F, right? I think that's how beige is spelled. Let me see. All right, what else? Oprah. Brian Hepburn says Oprah shows up and gives everyone still alive a dead person's car. You get a car. It's used but free. There's still stuff in it. A lot of garbage. JB. I always figured Multiverse was an excuse for bad writing, stories without consequences like Batwoman. I don't know anything about Batwoman, but I think generally I don't mind multiverse as a concept, but I think, yeah, it can be an excuse for bad writing. I think it can be fun, but I think, yeah, it can definitely be used poorly.
Definitely. Like, I liked the crossover episodes, but I stopped watching the Arrowverse TV shows a while ago. But I like loved when they did the crossover episodes.
I've never watched any of those shows because it's all DC stuff. I've just never watched anything except for Adam West's Batman from the 60s is like the only thing. But
funny.
Just as a general principle, I love crossovers of any show ever. Like, I love when they combine it and like, wow, you guys are in the same universe. That's amazing. I love even in like Disney Channel, always a big fan of any of those things. It's like, the magic in this show and you didn't have it on that one, but now it exists in there. Like, okay.
Well, the funny thing to me about the Arrowverse is that, to me, I'm like, the shows are badly written. They always have been. So to me, I sit down and I start with Arrow and I'm like, oh, this is the quality of writing to expect for the rest of this series. So I'm okay with that. Like, you've already set the bar extremely low. So I'm okay with that. And like, it was just fun. Like, they weren't trying really hard, honestly. So when they were doing other crossover stuff, it was enjoyable. But then, like, I don't know, there were a couple of moments where I started to just get bored of it. Like, you know, shows can only last so long before you start losing interest, or they have to ramp up things up. And there were a couple of things, like, it might have been the Supergirl shit about the Liberty stuff that really started to be off-putting to me, because it felt maybe like a little bit of a, like, we don't like Republicans kind of metaphor.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm not sure I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
And then, like, stuff like, Ollie went to prison. I was like, okay, now we're getting like really friggin' weird here. I'm kind of done. I don't know. It kind of like, there's only so far you can take with some of it. Before you run out of ideas. I mean, that same was true. Supernatural lasted forever. And like,
15 seasons. And I hated the ending. I love the show. I mean, like, I understand that, like, it was repetitive, or like it's hard. Like, once you've ramped up,
back.
Like, you kind of have to go back to a certain spot, because it's like, well, you went as you literally, killed God and stuff, like, so there's not much more you can do now. So you have to end it. But the ending really, really sucked. And then the old person makeup on Sam was just awful.
I didn't watch the end, actually. I think I got as far as season 10. There was a season where they come to the series finale, the season finale, and they didn't play Carry On My Wayward Son.
Oh yeah.
And then the season ended at that point, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, that was the end of the season? Like, I was so confused. And it felt abrupt, because it didn't have the Carry On My Wayward Son recap before the end. And that threw me off hardcore.
I forget which season. I can't remember which season that was. But what I love that they play, like, they had a lot of meta stuff. They did a lot of like fun episodes. Like, just general as the show, like, I liked that, how playful they were throughout it. And overall, I liked how it was wrapping up. But it was just like the very last episode. I mean, I can spoil, like, I won't spoil, but
I
it also,
don't care that
it
much.
angers me so much. And it's still like it is probably tied with the Chilling Tales of Sabrina as like the worst endings for a show.
Really?
But just to me, it was just at least because in Supernatural, so Dean dies and then they're reunited in heaven later on. But Dean dies when they're still like young, like they finish and he dies by vampire. By like they're in like a nest, like from the first episode. They like, oh, it was the girl that they saw like 15 years ago, and now she's like in charge or something, like whatever it was. So it was kind of like bringing that back, like sure, whatever. But Dean gets impaled on rebar, like so he gets slammed up against a thing, and that's how he dies. And like, you've been through so much, including like fighting in purgatory for like 100 years or 1,000 years or whatever, and this is what gets you. And it was just like really arbitrary, and I felt like you deserve a better death. Like at the very least, it could have been like Sam ends up getting married and having kids and stuff. Like, why not wait till then? And then something happens to like his family's at risk, and Dean saves them by sacrificing himself and dying. Like even if it's still rebar, even if it's something like that, but you save Sam's child. Like, okay, but this was just like the most pointless, lamest death. Like you've survived so much worse than that and come back from it. And it was just kind of like, all right, well.
Death by building code violation.
Yeah. I didn't even understand it because it was right in like a post, like in the barn, and it was just sticking out. Like, why would you even put that there? Who puts
that's like a Final
there?
Destination death.
Yeah. It was like,
oh god, those movies are so funny. How much they devolved into basically just like being death traps everywhere. Everywhere you go is a death trap.
Yeah.
That's what you just described. Like, I don't know.
So mad.
And it's kind of I kind of can't see myself being okay with Dean dying and me going, oh my god, no, because I'm like, yeah, I've experienced his death like 4 times.
I know, yeah.
By now.
That's why I was like, I'm okay with it, because then they got to talk. They had heaven, and they kind of said like heaven's a lot better now. Like it was way cooler than it. Like the initial one was just like, oh, you just live in your memory for like your favorite memory forever and ever. Like that was super lame. And I like, no, why would I ever want to be in a heaven like that? So they made it where it's like, no, and actually now everyone's real. It's not just memories. And so I thought that was cool. But again, and I understand like, oh, killing off Dean, that's kind of, I miss the bromance of that. Like, that's really difficult. So like, I kind of understand the wanting to do that as like an ending. But why just the rebar? Like, why not? Oh. And then the makeup, so they had Sam age, and so he gets really old and he's on his deathbed and stuff too. And I'm like, did you have to make it look really fake? Like, was that intentional? It just seems like, oh, maybe it was like 5 years later, and then he's like, oh, I'm just pretending to die, and I'm putting this makeup on now too, because it was like really, really bad. And like you have so many other effects, like you've done a bunch of different effects of things that would like, but old person makeup is what gets you. It's like they just gave up. It's the end of the show, like whatever.
It's the end. We don't.
Yeah,
we ran out of money.
I do love generally too, like when they know, like, oh, this is the last season. Let's just have fun, and they'll do like weird stuff. And even in Criminal Minds also had a 15-year run, but it's also coming back from what I've read. But like they had like a really fun episode or two though, where it was just like, this is a lot more silly than you've done in the past though. And I just kind of like the idea that you're like, it doesn't matter, we're not trying to get picked up for another season, so like let's just have let loose.
I do like it when shows do that, honestly. Like I think that's enjoyable. Like the last episode of Eureka is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
And for one thing, they're making fun of the studio.
It's been so long since I've seen that show. I can't remember the specifics of the ending now. I do. Oh, yeah, the time travel. Like they kind of. That's right. They go back, and I vaguely remember.
So what happened? The very last episode. Wait, what happened was that the studio said we're going to give you 6 more episodes, and they were like, "Yay!" And then they go with no budget, and the people behind the show were like, "Well, we can't do 6 episodes with no budget." They were essentially saying no budget, and so they were like, how about this? You give us that same budget, we make 1 episode, and we make it good. And I think that was a smart decision, honestly, on their part, because then I wouldn't have been happy with 6 crappy episodes. But so they made one really good episode, and what it is that Eureka's being shut down by the DoD. They're like, this place is a disaster zone. We're done. And then so then like it was so funny though, because like he says they say, oh, they're only giving us 1 week to move out, and then and someone goes, what? I thought we had 6 weeks. And they're like, no, they came back and told us we only had 1 week. Like, if you would go into that episode knowing what was going on behind the scenes, that's really hilarious, because they're making fun of them for it, and I thought that was pretty brilliant. But like I don't, there are a lot of shows that have like that last too long. I think Supernatural is one of them. I don't think shows should last longer than 5 seasons.
Oh, really? 5? Okay, I think I disagree there. But so I get torn, because it's like I hate endings like of TV shows. I get really attached, and so then it gets emotional for me. Like when a show ends, and I have to like, I need to like decompress, and I'm like, man, you know, I spent all this time with these characters, and I'm not ready. Like I want to start a new show or something, but I'm not ready. I need to like mourn the loss of these other characters that I spent so long with, and so it's just like this emotional turmoil. But so that's hard for me to let go, where I'm like, oh yeah, even though this is sucking, I don't want to say goodbye yet. So let me just keep, like, you're lingering here forever. So like there's that part of me, but then also where I'm like, no, like you had a plan. I like when it's like we're going to do 6 seasons in a movie, and then you completed it, and that's great. And so sometimes that's all you need. But so it's, I get like, there's like the logical side. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And the emotional side, I'm like, I can't let you go.
There's some shows, someone asked this question a couple years ago on Facebook, what show would you kill or, you know, pay $1 million to have one more season of? And it was not even a like consideration to me. Like I just immediately, Dark Matter. Like I was so fast on that one. Right. I'm not usually that good, but so like I really liked Alphas. Alphas died after 1 season and everything.
And that kind of Dark Matter.
But Dark Matter is a Canadian show.
I see that. Oh, so that budget was pretty bad.
The budget wasn't great, but it was a good show. The writing on it was really good. And it had some pretty good actors in it. It had some really great emotional moments to it. And there were things they had planned, like clearly, and then it ends. And I was like, no. So that was my one show. Like, and I'd be interested to know like what other shows people would say they want one more season on.
Yeah, like I have to think about that. So because I love TV. I can't. Oh, X-Files. G-Man says X-Files. I still haven't seen the new stuff. Also read Baron Snoopy.
Yes, we do need to talk about the She-Hulk.
Yeah, we do have that, since we devolved from Doctor Strange, so we can get into the into the She-Hulk thing, which I probably have less to say on that since it was just the trailer. But let me see. I can share. We won't play it, but I'm gonna try at least showing the images from the trailer, just so we have visual, and we'll see if we get, you know, copyright struck. Is it showing? Is this up? Okay.
A little bit, yeah.
I'm trying to find stuff where she's green.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Oh yeah. Okay. So there's her. Oh yeah. There's green eyes. She's got such curly hair. And here. So if you guys haven't seen the trailer, here I'll post the link. I don't even know what this is on movie coverage. And sending. StreamYard takes forever to like actually send a chat. But oh, here she's green. So she's oh gosh, I keep missing like
there's not a lot of like, green
outside. There we go. Okay.
There it is.
Found it. So she's green. She's got really pretty hair. Now, did her hair change after
she did change?
Like,
no, here's the thing.
Before.
The look of the She-Hulk that they made is spot on, I would say, to how she mostly looks in the comic book. The hair, like, is perfect.
Really? Okay.
But the CGI is awful. Like, she looks like a lot of people are like, Uncanny Valley. Like, it's not great.
So I think, oops, closed captioning. I know that a lot, like everyone's really harping on it. That I think I'm mostly ambivalent, I guess, because it's like one thing like where the CG might be bad now, but it is a trailer and it's not coming out yet. So like I can give them some slack on that. Maybe it'll get better as it goes on. But I also just kind of always thought that like the He Hulk has been kind, like his CG is, it's more cartoony and stuff already though too. So like so maybe is it for her, if the Uncanny Valley, is she too real? Is that what the issue then is?
Probably actually. She's supposed to be, and this is the thing, like some people are like, she's not muscular enough, and it's like, well, then you don't know, you're clearly not an actual comic book fan.
See,
because
she's not supposed to be.
No, she's supposed to look like a really tall, somewhat toned pinup girl. Really?
And honestly, I'm surprised that they didn't make her as muscular, because that seems to be kind of like the woke thing to do, is to make them more androgynous and to so you lose the femininity, because like, well, you're going to be tough and all that. And so like, well, and women are equal as men, so we're going to make her just as strong. So I'm actually kind of surprised that like, no, we're going to keep her looking like a woman. And
well, and more true to how she is in the comic books. The thing is though, is that like, I think one of the reasons why they decided not to go that route is because there is a comic book version of the She-Hulk who is basically just Hulk. It's not a different character. It's not a different Hulk. It's because she's in control of herself as She-Hulk. That's the thing that's different. She's always been in control of herself, but they made a version of She-Hulk that is more basically just a female version of the Hulk, and no one liked it. No, everyone thought it was trash, and the art for it was really bad too. Whereas everyone, like, the original She-Hulk is supposed to be a bit of a sex goddess kind of image.
Oh.
So to me, I'm kind of surprised. I am somewhat surprised that they kept it up. The original, more lovingly, fondly loved, version of She-Hulk. But I'm not mad about it. I don't know that I necessarily like the woman they got to play She-Hulk, which I think someone mentioned that it's the woman from Orphan Black, at Johnny Boy Quick Draw, and I think it is her.
Okay. Z's her Hulk. Hulk just identifies She-Hulk. So since I have no connection, like I don't have any preconceptions of what She-Hulk is supposed to be, like I'm not sure how I feel about the actors playing it, because I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I don't know, like so again, it's a lot of ambivalence. And I might be like one of the only people that like, I don't super care about the CG is okay enough for me that like I know everyone hates it, but it's just kind of, I don't know. I watch a lot of cartoons. I watch a lot of where I'm just kind of like, okay, like I accept this. Some of it kind of just like, she looks pretty. So I think human enough where I'm like, oh, it just kind of looks like she has makeup on, but like it's not as CG'd, and it just, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, so I guess, I don't know. It wasn't as big of a deal to me for some reason. So, but I knew, I'm like, I know everyone's like super strongly opinionated one way or the other. It's usually just like in the bad way from what I've seen so far. But I'm just kind of,
I think one thing that I am pleased by is how perfect her hair is as She-Hulk.
It's always
like fucking spot on hair there.
How do you do that?
I'm just like, it looks amazing. It's perfect. And it's like, that's exactly how She-Hulk's hair should look. That's the one thing I think they're fighting really doing what nailed.
That's the thing that like again too, like the wokeness, where they like they make things androgynous, and they're like, okay, let's make the women less pretty and all that, and like I don't care how unrealistic it is in any sort of fictional thing. I like when a woman's just like, yeah, you've got like high heels on, boots or whatever, and doing it, and like your hair's down and beautiful. Though I'm like, there's no way that this is realistic, that you'd be able to do any sort of fighting in it, but you look cool, and I really like that, and I can suspend my disbelief for this, but I can't suspend it on why a husband in a commercial would know all the passwords to a thing when the wife wouldn't, when he's the dunce. So like, there's just like certain things where I'm like,
well, the thing is
an artistic
about
choice.
Comic books and superheroes is that they're a fantasy. So part of the fantasy should be that you're sexually attractive. Yes. And that your hair is always perfect. Like,
and that's what I want. I want that. And
Yeah.
I feel like people
And
are
like,
bothered too. We're like, oh, a woman who's like strong, but like you're not muscular enough too. But I'm like, if you're Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you just have like the supernatural strength. She doesn't need to be muscular. And I don't want to see a super muscular woman because to me that's less attractive. I want to see like, and it's more fun to see like this petite little blonde girl like that be able to like take down big bad guys. Like, and again, it's fictional and supernatural.
if it's not supernatural or scientific or something like that where it's like pumped up, I do have a problem with tiny girls being strong, like with no muscular tone. Like if it's supposed to be more realistic and they have like no muscles, I'm like,
yeah. And I guess maybe I just don't have as much familiar. Most of what I watch is like the fantasy type thing though. So I don't even know. Like the only thing would be like, yeah, like if you're, you've got martial art skills or something, but you have to like, you can have lean muscle and you might be like dexterous and fast that way. Like, so I don't need you to be bulky, but you probably need to show that like, yeah, you actually have like, you physically can handle some of these moves and things that maybe exactly. It doesn't even have to be like all of them. Like I can still suspend my disbelief a little bit, but just like a little bit of muscle.
Well, a good example of that I think is Jessica Biel in, I think that's her name, in the third Blade movie. She's not supernatural, I don't think, but she's toned. She's very toned, and like she's like, she shoots bow and arrow. Which, by the way, I've shot a bow and arrow. It does require some arm strength. Like you can't be weenie arms out here.
You get a compound bow, and mine's like a lot weaker, so that way I can, because I have no upper body strength. So it's just.
I fired a longbow actually.
Yeah. So those are much harder. So I'm like, I cannot do that. And I have a few bows, but yeah.
But yeah, like so to me, I'm sort of like she looked great, like, and she still looked womanly too. And like some people have said, like, why didn't they hire like Gina Carano, besides the fact that they don't like Gina Carano anymore, to play She-Hulk? And it's like, I want her to be the pinup girl she was in the comic books.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, yeah. And again, I just don't have a reference to like, but if she was more pinup girl in the comics, and like, so she needs to kind of have a little bit more like daintiness.
Not daintiness. She's tall. She is
already tall.
Oh, okay. She's taller than average. She's muscular. She's tall and fit.
Tall people never be dainty? Is that do you have to be small? I don't know whatever.
I don't know. But she's not like super broad shouldered or anything. She's statuesque. I call her statuesque. Okay. But she's tall and she looks strong. She looks like she's
how they make statues. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone, Johnny Boy, quick draw. She's a green Amazon, basically. She's not. Yeah, she's 7 feet tall. She's 7 feet tall. But she's still womanly. She's still curved. And I think
her human self is 7 feet, or like as She-Hulk.
Her She-Hulk. Her She-Hulk version. She was much smaller as normal.
Well, that's what I meant too. As like the normal human. How tall is the normal human? Is she also just a tall person? Or
she was just average, I think. I don't think she was necessarily like really tall.
Okay, so that was my point. Was just like the change in it is just like, oh, you go from like, here's like the smaller person, and like, and now you're like,
she did get taller. She did. Yeah. But it's not the kind of change that you see from Bruce Banner.
Amazon, yes.
Yeah, it's
a good one. She's a green Amazon.
It's a much smaller increase in size.
Yeah. Okay.
She's not scary.
Sorry, JB, I think is calling us out here. I used to shoot 80-pound recurve. I doubt you could pull it back. Huh.
I doubt.
Well, JB, you're right. There's no way.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with that.
Well, there we go. But I do have guns, so I can shoot those.
Yeah, I'm
2 handguns and 5 rifles. So
yeah, I got handguns myself.
I'm good at a rifle. I'm bad at the handguns, but I'm a crack shot with a rifle.
But yeah, I don't know that I'm necessarily looking forward to She-Hulk or that I'm dreading it either. Like,
yeah, I'll watch it because I just watch everything. Hi, John DeLaRose. Thinks we're greater than Buffy. In what way? Buffy has nice hair.
But which version of Buffy? TV show Buffy or movie Buffy?
I think I still have not seen the movie. I had to have, right? I don't remember. I like TV show Buffy. I love Sarah Michelle Gellar.
I've watched the shit out of that movie like all
Really?
the time. Yeah, I've never seen all of Buffy yet, but I really watched that movie a lot.
But see, and there's the comparison though. From what I remember, like the movie one, she's a little bit bigger, like at least taller. I think like a little bit broader. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar is very petite, and so and again though, I like the idea. Like here's this small, fragile looking girl, but you have superpowers, and like, to me, like that's more fun to watch. Like something, because that's what I do even in like D&D games too. I like to play. Like, because you get to power up in different ways. So I have played like 12-year-old paladin girls who have like super strength though. So I'm like throwing dinosaurs around and stuff though. Because I like anime, and so to me, everything I picture is an anime.
I don't mind it if it's magic. Like magic, I'm like, yeah, they could be as tiny, like Ant-Man is, and it doesn't make sense at the same time. Like, and to me, I'm sort of like, whatever. I don't mind those kinds of things. It's when it's like character motivations and like, oh yeah, Infinity War. There's a part in Infinity War where they're getting the glove off of Thanos' hand. That scene.
Oh
and
yeah.
They literally get it to here, like the cuff is right at the tips of his fingers, and then like everything goes to shit, and he gets free, and suddenly the glove is completely back on his hand, and they don't show it to me, and I'm like, that's a movie thing that they just didn't show it happen, and there's no way it could have happened. And they do that a lot where they're like, we don't know how to write this, so we're gonna cut away.
Yeah, and like it's just easier when like I love when TV shows will do that like intentionally too, or like things happen off screen, but then the characters will be like, "Man, this is really," and they're just like watching it happen, like, "Wow, that's amazing!" Like, and then you might even say like, "If only we had the budget for this," and like, but everything's just. So I love the meta-ness of that. But
we could talk a little bit because this kind of ties into Moon Knight. There's a scene where the Layla girl is fighting like a supernatural monster, and she has no powers, and like they show her like it pulls her into the darkness, and we don't see anything for a bit, and then somehow she got out of that, and we don't see it, and I'm like, bullshit, she won that fight. Bullshit.
Right. Yeah. it just gave up, and it was or maybe she like told it off or something, offended it, and then or maybe like as a woman, they're more manipulative though, so she like cut down, like said something that like got to his weakness, where he's just like really insecure and talked about his eyebrows or something, and so then it like that was her moment to escape.
Yeah, they did that a lot in Moon Knight. A lot of action is cut from the show, and I'm like, this is kind of not good. Like it's kind of obvious. Like honestly, like in the first episode it's fine, like because it's intriguing and to write it that way, but as it goes further along and it keeps happening, then it's less interesting. Then it's just more obvious you don't know how to write this, and you don't have the budget to show it. That's what I'm seeing now, and that's why like Moon Knight is not my favorite of the Disney Plus MCU TV shows. Definitely not.
Which is your favorite?
Which is my favorite? Loki. And that's controversial opinion, and I will say this right now, I love a good takedown of determinism. And that's what that show is.
Yes, me too. And that's what like, a lot of anime does that too. Like I love that's actually the one that really doesn't is Yu-Gi-Oh, which I grew up with. But I was always bothered by like the whole "this is destiny. I was destined to win something," like, and then he does at the end. And it was just like, oh, that's kind of lame. But in most other like anime and stuff, it's all about like I don't care what I was told. Like I'm never gonna make it, and like and you change your fate. Love that. So yeah, I enjoyed Loki a lot too, and I love when things get kind of like when you peel the next layer, and where you're just like, oh, the TSA isn't exactly they're not just the people, all those things. So it was just I like that.
I know a lot of people were like, oh my god, what are they doing to Loki and all this stuff, and I was like, here's the thing, is that first of all, the TSA was not the good guy. Even in the opening, I was like, clearly not the good guy. They just vaporized someone because he didn't have his ticket. Like, that's not the good guy.
Right.
And
anyone who says that, like, we know all, like, we're the judge of stuff too, like, of course I don't trust this.
You, like, literally in the opening scene, she says that you could be a time variant for being late to work. It's like, these are bad people, and that they set that up quite nicely in the beginning. And then the whole show is about determinism. That's what the the TVA is about. And then what happens in the end? They break down determinism. That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. What's the name of the thing though? Because I called it. I think I just called it whatever the airports or the TSA. What's the actual
TVA? Time variance. Time variance agency, I think is what it stands for. TVA. Yeah.
Probably still gonna call them TSA later, but
yeah. So well, they're as bad as the TSA.
Yeah.
So it's okay. But yeah, they, like, to me, I found that to be very well done. And then also when it comes to Loki, is the character development side. We already saw Loki learn to love his family in the movies. We didn't need that story again. If you were going to tell a different story about Loki and progress his character more, he needed to learn more about himself.
This is the one though, and the thing that I had trouble keeping track of was, like, the time when on the timeline it was this Loki that we had. All of this took place in between, like, before the third Thor, right? And like, and because they were like time traveling in Avengers, right, and things. So I just
this is
the
Loki
when
at the end of Avengers, the first.
Because he learns that his mom is going to die, like, so she hasn't died yet, and everything. So like,
but he sees it. They show him like what his life would be if he hadn't.
But then this character hasn't learned all of his lessons yet.
They did make him like learn it all quickly.
Yeah.
And that was a little like, but at the same time, I didn't want to see him go through it again. I already saw it.
And it makes me, because that's why, like, I need to watch everything like the chronological order that it happens, because then it also made me wonder. I'm like, okay, if this happened at a certain time, so then any other time he's in the movies later on from this show, so he already had that character development. So were all the choices he made, he's already like learned his lessons, or is this just a totally different timeline and this never happened anyway? So it's just different from the movies.
Loki sets up the idea that there are all different timelines. So there's different versions of Loki. So this is one specific Loki who didn't go through Thor: The Dark World, and then so
he's okay, and that's what I think I keep forgetting, because I think I had to learn this before, but then every time I look back on it I get confused again. But yeah, okay, so this is just he's a different one.
He's a different one, yeah. And I mean, basically what Loki sets up is eternalism over determinism. So eternalism is essentially Schrodinger's cat, the idea that all choices are all possible and all exist in the same time, at the same time, and then you make a choice or something happens, and that's what was always going to happen, but in another time the other thing happens. So, and that's confusing, but it's also really fun for writing, like for sci-fi and magic stuff, is to set up eternalism. And I like eternalism better than determinism as a writing technique, which is why I don't like the TVA. I think they suck. I mean, besides the fact that they're also like mind raping people, everyone who works there was a variant at some point and they don't remember that. I mean, that's fucking awful. Like, it's terrible. Like, everything about the TVA is just monstrous.
Yeah, it just seems like, oh, we're happy living in this weird city thing that you're stuck in forever, and you can't ever do like anything. Like, it's just like, even if you were supposed to think that it was good, then like, this is a sucky life to lead.
Yeah. And like, honestly, what's his name? Owen Wilson. One of his best performances. Like, he's so good in that. Yes, and then actually, to bring it back to Moon Knight, I'd say that this is one of Ethan Hawke's best performances. He's charming, which you would have to be as a cult leader, but also terrifying, which you would also be as a cult leader. So like, I felt like he did a really good job. Like he's almost better than like most of the people in the show. I think Oscar Isaac does an amazing job because they finally let him do a bunch of stuff. My problem though with this show is that it's only like 6 episodes to deal with an apocalypse.
Yeah,
that's a little short, and there's way too much where they follow Layla. I'm like, this character I did not like.
Yeah, she did not really intrigue me very much. And I don't know, why didn't you like her? Because I'm not sure why.
Well, first of all, so Harrow, that's the Ethan Hawke character, at a very serious and intense plot moment tells her that Mark was there when her father was killed, suggesting that Mark killed her father. So they need to get out of there, like right now. They absolutely need to get out of here. And she decides this is the time to confront Mark about her father's death, even though bad guys are closing in on them. And I'm sort of like, bitch, now's the time. And she literally gets him killed. And I don't like this character.
Oh my god, yeah, broken up about it.
I don't like her.
Screen time continues says there's only 14 minutes of Moon Knight in the Moon Knight show. I do think the different suits that the characters wear, that Steven and Mark, is that their names? I think that's really fun when I keep mixing them up. Steven is the British one, right?
No, yeah, Steven's the British one.
And he just has that like dress
I like
suit.
it too.
What suit? Like, okay.
Some of the suit.
Like,
okay. and what's the ceremonial suit of Khonshu, not whatever he was with the
getting
best.
married or something in this white
really suit. I mean, I like all the stuff with Moon Knight. I just wish there was more of it. Mm-hmm. And for him to actually lose his powers in a 6-episode run and then get them back, that's kind of annoying.
Even in the first episode, it was like, we're planning on watching the whole thing, but even the first one, it was kind of like, this is too much. It's too long to have unanswered questions. Like you don't find out like at the very end and you're still like left hanging. And it was like, I needed to be given something more, because it was still just like, I have no idea what's going on in this show. Like it's unclear. And I guess like with the DID thing, like maybe that's the intention, but it's like as a viewer though, who doesn't have this problem though, like I just needed like a little bit more like, setting, like planting the seeds a little bit of just like something there. So I was a little bit concerned, but then I ended up liking it.
I liked the first episode. I was excited after the first episode. I will admit that. Like me and my best friend, one of our favorite things to do is like, we know these characters and everything. So then we end up talking about our predictions. And one of our predictions immediately after having watched the first episode, it was more his than mine, is that there was a third personality. Because especially after the second episode, we were like, there's no way in hell Mark asked some chick out at work. We know Steven didn't do it. Mark didn't do it because Mark loves Layla and is trying to lay low. So there's no freaking way it was him. Yeah. But so I was like, so there has to be a third.
Yeah, there was something early on too. Yeah, where I was just like, oh yeah, there's definitely someone else in there, and then they kept like making it more apparent later on too.
We also kind of, after we finished the show, we were like, did the other personality kill the fish? Like, because not Mark wouldn't kill the fish.
Yeah,
but would he? And it's funny too, because like I know a lot about DID, but it's total bullshit. Like I don't believe in it.
Oh yeah. I don't know how I feel about its existence period, but like I think at least for most people, especially everyone online, it's totally Like
I think it's fun from a writing perspective.
Yeah,
That's why I like it.
Yeah.
But like in the real world, I'm like, oh no, that's not true.
And again, like there's so many things that you can suspend your disbelief. Like I'm still watching Nathan Fillion's Castle, but then there's like anytime in any detective cop show or whatever, like here's this video that we have. Let me clean up the quality of it so then now it's crisper and we can read what was on the writing on this computer or whatever it was. That I'm like, yeah, if it was recorded terribly, like you can't increase it. Like maybe like if you sharpen it like a little bit, there might be something. But like if the raw footage is bad, that you can't fix that though without like unless you're drawing over it and you have to know what you're looking at to like really edit it in there though. So and I just saw that today too, and it was so part of it's like I'm bothered by this, but you need it to like move the story. Like I accept it. It happens. And she does it so quickly too. It's just like typing. Like, why are you typing so much? Like, this would be a lot more clicking. You're like dragging the mouse, and you're like filling
in Hollywood, and it's like no one types this much.
Like, what? Only if you're like, am I going through the command prompt and like just programming it all like somehow, like instead of going through the actual program that I'm using, I'm just typing
don't
out.
Exist.
Yeah, I'm only using Linux.
Oh God! But like, so someone mentioned, I think Red Baron Snoopy.
Oh, which can I say real quick? Why are there two Snoopies in chat? There's Red Baron Snoopy and Johnny Boy Quick Draw with Snoopy. I thought Johnny Boy had changed his name to Red Baron Snoopy, but we have two Snoopies in chat. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, the idea that it's basically like a message, you know. And the thing is that we were talking about Layla, me and my best friend, and the fact that she's basically a like fan service to Egypt. Like there's literally that line, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" It's so fucking cringe.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is though, is that it's like, do you know how many people in Egypt watch TV, have access to the internet, can get a streaming network to work? It's not a lot, okay? The percentage on that is not going to give you a great return, okay? So it's like, why are you playing to that audience? There's no audience. So it's like people who like Moon Knight want to watch Moon Knight, okay? Mm-hmm. They don't want to watch Layla become the first Egyptian superhero. No one cares, all right?
Right. And I didn't even know what she was supposed, because I thought she was just like Scottish or something though, so I don't even know where she's supposed to be from exactly. So it was like that accent.
I thought she was Scottish.
Yeah, but then I thought I'm like, oh, it's an interesting like it's just a hint of an accent. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's kind of Americanish, and so I don't know. Thought she was Scottish, and so I was like Egyptian. I was like, that's what I thought. I was like, why are they considering her Egyptian if she's just like some sort of, you know, brownish skinned Scottish person? So makes a little bit more sense now, I guess.
Well, people in chat keep talking about the Avril Lavigne.
Oh yeah, we can get onto that. So, and it's nothing new, guys. Okay, this is actually pretty old. Let me pull up the thing. The video, yeah, like the music video is from 2014. So okay, let me just give a little bit of history for like the reason why like I just came across this video the other day, because and it's still kind of relevant because like there are people, I've seen people in recent months talking about like, oh, it was racist or it's not racist. But I grew up in the 2000s and I got really into the pop punk genre of music, and everyone dunks on it because they think it's like, oh, they're too cool for it and it sucks. But IDGAF, because, you know, I was super into like Simple Plan, Avril Lavigne, Good Charlotte, Sum 41, Blink-182, Zebrahead, although they are less pop punk and more like punk rap ska. But and then also Christian rock music, so I like Reliant K and Super Chick and stuff. So like so that was all like, and I've read like when you're 14, that's when your like musical tastes start to develop and stuff. So I was like 12, 13 when I got into all that. So I stopped listening to music as much because I was doing all the podcasts and everything, so I listened to that more. But I started listening to music again, and a lot because like I started exercising, which I had never really done before. And then I need like to be pumped up when I'm doing that.
I use music too.
Yeah. So then And then even the pop punk stuff, like the later things, even though they were a lot more like emo early on, like now they're a lot more upbeat and fun. So I'm like, yeah, I can jam out to this and do like some cardio stuff. So that's kind of like how it kind of progressed. And coincidentally, Avril Lavigne and Simple Plan both came out with albums this year. So it was good timing for me to get back into it because they hadn't like in a few years. So admittedly, I have been getting a little obsessed with Avril, and because I've looked up like one music video and now YouTube is just like, here's a bunch of other ones. So I say, okay, let me just keep watching every time I see them. So I click on it. Oh, I actually need to like still share this, but share this tab instead. Click on, so this, whoops, nope, hit the wrong button. This one is Hello Kitty. So again, it's from 2014, and she did. I won't play the music, but you guys can watch it later on. But they did the whole music video that they're saying is racist because it's she loves Hello Kitty and made a fun song, and then wanted to do kind of like, and she's really big in Japan, so it was kind of like a way to honor them. But she had like the Japanese people like dancing, like doing like emotionless dances. She gets sushi at some point.
I love the part where she gets sushi.
Yeah,
that's it. Like that, she's so excited, and like it's sort of the bubbly anime character, like excited kind of quality to it. And but it makes me feel like she really, really loves Japanese culture,
right? Well, and that's the thing too, that like, so the way she did it, it's like the music video is using a lot of like Japanese like stuff that they do themselves, so it's kind of like, again, so it's like an homage to it and a kind of like a stereotype of like, but it's intentional though, because like the Japanese are like, yeah, like this is what we do, so like you're trying to like honor us and of what our culture does. So they're like, when it came out, and then I just noticed too, like in the last few months, there's still people like, oh, this is such a racist thing that she's doing all this. But then you have Japanese people saying like, no, like we like this. We appreciate that she's like trying to do this for us. And that she even in the lyrics too, she says, Mina Psycho Arigato, which is like pretty much like, you guys are awesome. Thank you. Like, so she's like thanking the people there.
Well, one of my thoughts was like, I've seen like cultural appropriation is something people in the Western world like to throw around a lot. And whenever they throw it at a Japanese style thing, I have never once seen a Japanese person agree with them.
Right.
Ever.
Anything too, like I remember even on mentioned way back on Unsafe Space last year, 2 years ago, when it was like the Chinese style prom dress that one girl wore, and everyone is just like, this is so racist, like you're misappropriating their culture. But then Chinese people are like, oh no, that looks good on her, like thank you for using our culture, like I think that's a great style, we appreciate that, like it's spread over there in America, and all that. So I have that article up too that you sent.
Oh yeah, that before. I sent you
from the Utah Tumblr girl,
like, yeah. So this, I remember this from years ago. It's not new at all, and I think it even predates the Hello Kitty video.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we just keep going older. All right, great.
Yeah. Where this little girl, this mother threw a Japanese tea party style birthday for her daughter because that's what her daughter wanted. Okay. Yeah. And there's pictures from it. She posted it, and I mean, the girl looks very happy. She's clearly white though. And the way people acted on Tumblr, like, teach your children that this is not okay, and then the immediate response, teach children that there's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah.
And then like someone's going, oh, cultural appropriation is not okay, and then they're talking about it's yellow face because it's the geisha girl look or whatever. And,
which isn't, aren't they putting white on so
they
then they look more fair?
Are.
Like, is that, so it's
yeah, exactly. So, hi, Ioana. My name's not Alexis. I literally said that at the beginning of the video.
Yeah, it's just Alex.
It's Alex. But I'm teasing you. But yeah, so
and Ioana, don't watch the beginning though either, though, because we do definitely spoil stuff for Doctor Strange. So
yeah, we spoil a lot of Doctor Strange. But if you keep scrolling,
you
wrote Alex. And you keep scrolling, there's this Japanese person who defends the little girl, and she says, I am Japanese in Japan at this very moment. The only people who think culture shouldn't be shared are racists like you.
Yeah, because then you're making it where like no one can even learn about, like you can't even show anything else. You can't have any, but you have to keep them all in your same little cultures though too. And like, well, the internet exists. Like people are gonna know.
Well, and I've never met a Japanese person who didn't want to share their culture with other people, and were not happy when someone tried to take part in Japanese culture. I've never seen any of them they're like, oh, good, you're trying. Like they're happy about that. And like, oh my God, some of the replies to that was like wrecked and stuff. And like,
yeah, so
yeah, so like, because that Japanese person really took them out. Burn level Hiroshima. And that's my favorite though. Exactly. The Japanese invented bukkake, and that is something everyone could come together over.
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny.
Okay, so on cultural appropriation stuff, I remember a few years ago there was a girl talking over the microphone. And I knew through improv, and her workplace, they were going to be doing, they were doing lip syncing for like Christmas stuff. And then she posted on Facebook asking for advice on like, they wanted to do Feliz Navidad, but then she was like, and they were going to wear like sombreros and stuff and sing it. But then they're like, is this okay though? Because it's a Spanish song and they're white people. So can you do that? And I did not respond in public because I was like, I don't really want to get it. And this was even before I really understood like as much of the woke. I think it was like just the early part of like wokeness and things. So I was like, I just don't want to get harassed by people because I know this is going to be a hot, controversial take on it. But I was saying how like it's a language. Anyone of any race can speak a different language that they didn't like. It doesn't matter. So if it's Spanish, you can have a black person or white person speak Spanish though too. So like, especially when you're lip syncing it, I said like at most maybe you can question like the sombreros, that like maybe that might not be in best taste or something. Like I personally, I don't even care, but it was just kind of like, but like you can, but it's so silly to me to think that we can't lip sync to a song because it's in a different language. And but then like French would be fine, but Spanish is out of the question though. Like, so it's
and that doesn't make any sense because Spanish is a European language.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I literally saw someone who was a parent asking for advice on one of those like Yahoo or something like that, saying that they didn't think it was okay for the kid to learn Spanish because it was cultural appropriation and they were white. And I'm like, the whole time I'm going, oh my God, are you so ignorant that you don't know about the country of Spain? Like, Jesus. Anyone who's like, Tom Segura makes that joke. He's you're like, oh, Segura, that's Spanish, but you're white. And he's like, yeah. And let me tell you, you failed geography. And let me tell you about a little country. Yeah,
Spain ruled the Philippines for a while too, though, and that's like we have a lot more light-skinned people now in the Philippines because of Spain, and they really like light-skinned people, I think, because of them as well. Because then you kind of have the whole like the lighter the skin, the richer you are, though, and because like they had the classist thing, and now and the Filipinos love white people too. Apparently, is what my mom has told me. But they love me because like, you know, I'm half white, so I'm a little bit light, but I get really dark in summer sometimes too. Oh
well, I know that I've seen some Latin American countries that have that same idea that's called colorism according to the woke or whatever. But like fun. that they also think lighter skinned people are better or whatever. They find them more attractive or something.
Someone put in chat a couple of weeks ago too when we were kind of talking about this, where it makes sense that like and I think in any country where the darker skin, you might be working outside more, you're doing more physical labor, and you're gonna and so inside you're gonna have fairer skin and be richer because you don't need to do those jobs. So like that just kind of makes sense generally as well.
That's like a sign of wealth, not necessarily a
like so like the
intrinsic trait,
like a kind of correlation. So, and it's hard to say, like, there isn't just like one rule of like, this is why, but like, I think there are multiple reasons. Also, Johnny Boy Quick Draw, what about singing Christmas carols in Klingon? No, that is racist and absolutely not appropriate.
You know what's kind of funny is that, like, so I grew up in Arizona. You bring
That
up
is
Feliz
funny.
Navidad. Yeah, it's hilarious here. But we did Christmas pageants, you know, as kids and everything. We always sang Feliz Navidad because
That's one of my favorite Christmas songs.
well, the thing is though, is that there were always freaking Hispanic kids in class.
Yeah.
Like
So you
they're
don't.
everywhere.
They're gonna be
Like,
so offended by you singing this.
I know, like it's like it was a way. It was that was inclusionism, you know, inclusion back then. Is that we were going to sing Feliz Navidad because we have Spanish speaking kids here. Like it's not that big a deal.
So getting back to painting your face and stuff for anything, as a non-white person, I don't care about if it's especially done in comedy, I think it's hilarious. I like so even for Justin Trudeau, like I don't care that he wanted to be Aladdin and darkened his skin and stuff too. Like, okay, cool, like whatever. People spray tan just generally though, like is that going to be racist when you're trying to be a little bit darker, and people would powder their skin to look fair, and like that's just what has happened throughout history and now. And so then when you're doing it as a costume to try, if you're genuinely trying to look the part of something, I don't mind that at all. Or if you're doing it as a joke, and like intention is really important. Like if you're not doing like it to be like actually racist or like derogatory or something though, but then that's okay to me. Like if you're doing it to like be a joke and be derogatory and offensive like in a funny way, then but like I'm fine with that though. Like I don't that's why they took away the 30 Rock episodes that did like there were 2 episodes that did blackface. I'm like, why? Like those were awesome. Like it was so funny that like when Jenna she looks really great. Like they did such a great job with the makeup making her look black. And I think did they switch to Tracy? Did he go white? I forget. Like there are two different episodes, but like I think they swapped. I think they were trying to be each other or something. And I thought like that's one I never went and watched and saw like, oh, this is offensive because like, you know, with me, I'm some sort of brown or yellow, and this is anything that's like, I don't know. I just don't care. Like, I don't think anything is off limits in comedy though. Like I think you can make terrible jokes. Maybe I won't find them all funny. But I do like a lot of dark jokes. And sometimes too, like, especially something I'll say like too soon if they do something too immediately, but like, I don't like, I'm probably still laughing at it. I just add that in there. Cause I'm like, oh, that's just what you say though. Right. Like, oh
yeah,
dead baby jokes are always funny. Joke. Yeah. It was just me. Yeah. So then like, I'm pretending to get offended.
Well, and then like the movie Tropic Thunder, they
yeah.
I mean, he's not making fun of black people. He's making fun of actors. Like that's
he plays it so well though too. Like and he's doing the stereotype, and then you're like, what? And the whole point is like, wow, you're not a great like the character isn't supposed to be like because he's playing these stereotypes though. And Robert Downey Jr. does a great job. I think I saw it wasn't it last year where at some point recently where the people on Twitter like hadn't heard of it and they're just now finding out about, you know, like the Zoomers find out about Tropic Thunder, like want to cancel this. Like, I mean, it's been around for a while. I think you're gonna.
It's like from 2008. I think.
Is it even that old? I thought it's even older than.
It might be older than that. But the thing is, though, is that he's not. They're not making fun of black people. They're making fun of how.
You're right. You're spot on the year.
Yeah, okay, cool. It's one of my favorite movies, but like they're making fun of actors. They're making fun of the idea that Hollywood likes stereotypes for especially for these like Vietnam type films of this like gruff black guy. Like it's very common. Yeah. And then the other thing that they make fun of is and this one actually did have protests. No one protested the blackface for Tropic Thunder. And people protested the use of the word retard in that movie. Never go full retard. Yeah. All that which is a great line. It is a great line. And but again, they're not making fun of the mentally handicapped. They're making fun of Hollywood for using mentally handicapped stories as Oscar bait. That's what they're making fun of.
It goes over most people's heads because they can't think of the layers. Oh, like any sort of, again, jokes or And people just take things too seriously, or where you don't think like, oh, that's the joke, is that, and I, especially depending on moving forward here, I'm probably going to do a lot more silly stuff too, because then I'll think that something is like, I'll do like a joke once removed because it's like an inside joke to like me, and like, so then, or you do like the inverse of a joke, so then most people aren't even going to get it, but I'll think it's hilarious. So like, because I was trying to, I was considering doing a Doctor Strange poll of just kind of like asking like what are your thoughts on Doctor Strange, and like doing a really elaborate question, but only doing the answers as yes, no, and then but then I was worried. I'm like, should I start out with that? Like, people might not get it, and then think that's serious. And like, why would you ask that? Like, why wouldn't you only gave this though? Did you not change the options because they automatically start off with yes and no? I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, that's a joke. That's a joke because I just, because I think it's stupid and I think it's funny. So.
I mean, I like that kind of silly comedy myself, but yeah, you got to make sure people are prepped for that.
So that's why I'm waiting. I'm like, no, you can get to know me first a little bit more.
But yeah, like, someone quoted one of my favorite lines from the movie, "I'm just a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude."
And
like
then that reminds me of Good Burger.
Yeah, it's very close. I love Tropic Thunder is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's so funny because I'm not a huge war movie fan. But I watched a lot of movies, and I watched a lot of the war movies, especially the Vietnam ones, and like seeing them make fun of it was so much fun. And I think Ben Stiller said that like he was shocked by how many women love Tropic Thunder.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I think is because most women don't like war movies.
Yes, yeah. That's what I was terrible in history class in high school because I'm so bored with war. That's why like I'm not interested in talking anything about like Russia, Ukraine though, because I'm like I will glaze over. Like even if I'm supposed to care, like I get like for whatever reason though, like I just can't. And so anything with wars. So if you're going to make it a like anything though too, I will watch any topic if it's a comedy though, and that way, like Blazing Saddles. I'm not into westerns, but I love Mel Brooks, and
Blazing Saddles is an amazing movie. You know the song that they play with the whip cracks in it?
Yes, yeah.
They said they were like trying to get someone. They wrote the song, but they didn't have a singer, and they were trying to get someone to sing it. And they were like, we want kind of like a Frankie Lane type. That's what they put in the ad. And then Frankie Lane showed up. And they're like, perfect. Yeah. We're not going to tell him it's a comedy, though. He's saying it, and then after every one of his lines, they have that whip crap sound, and it's like it's kind of hilarious because I feel a little bad. God, sorry, I should just bump my mic for Frankie Lang for not realizing that it was going to be a joke, but at the same time, it does make it.
But that makes you because you play it sincerely, and then you find out. Yeah, so like if you knew, then it might ruin it. So I get that. That's hilarious. Again with the colorful faces thing, in my for the senior class play in high school, I got the lead part, but I was the aunt. I played like Aunt Polly, and so I had my two nephews that we worked at a bakery, some big bakery. I forget what the whole thing was. It was called the Ghostess with the Mostess. So it was something about ghosts, but I ran the company. But so I had the two white friends who were playing my nephews. So we like powdered my face a little bit, and they used like the what's it called? I don't even use anything on my face though. But
bronzer.
Bronzer or whatever. Like what is it when you cover your face on with stuff?
Foundation.
Maybe foundation or the concealer. Maybe it was concealer. I think that's the word I was trying to think of. Concealer. See, I don't put anything on my face but lotion. So
I don't wear makeup.
I only do around the eyes, but like nothing else because I touch my face too much, and then I never understood how to do any of that. But so they did like concealer, foundation, whatever it was, to like darken their skin a little bit. So we like kind of met in the middle as far. So we're just like even more ambiguous. We're just like slightly brownish people, but like just like a little bit tanned white people. But it was kind of like. And it was never a question though about like, oh, is this okay to do? Or just like, oh no, let's just kind of match a little bit more. Like, yeah, funny. Okay. Oh my gosh, G-Man. You know what? I'm still waiting on that Elf video too. They never gave me a copy. I don't know if they ever came out with a copy of it. I played the piano for Elf the musical back in December. And then I was supposed to get a copy of it, but they never did. So I'm sorry, G-Man. If I still had the sheet music, I would play it here, but I might have some of the songs though, so maybe at some point we can do a stream. We'll just play on Discord. It won't come through on Discord at all, but because it cuts out the audio and stuff most of the time.
She's hungry, is what's going on right now.
I know. I think my cats are probably starving right now too. It is has been about 2 hours anyway, so we can wrap up.
We did get to the Avril Lavigne. I can't say her name. I'm sorry.
Wow, you really struggled there. The
There's some names and words where I'm just like.
I'm that way with linoleum. See, I had to pause and think about it though. I get tongue twisted. We need a rendition of Mel Brooks for 2022. Says Iguana. Yes, he's my inspiration. Like I love him. So everything that I've done, I've tried to do similar to that. I remember my senior project in college for film, a couple of different instructors that compared it to Monty Python, actually. And that was like the most flattering compliment that I could ever get, though, because I made a sitcom though. So it wasn't like a sketch thing, but they kind of, for some reason, like it kind of came across as like Monty Python-esque. I'm like, wow, this is just like, I'm so honored that like a couple of different teachers that have said that. But
you need to calm down.
But yeah, I lost my train of thought now. Cats and wrapping up.
And
Avril Lavigne, that's what we're talking about. Words.
And me not being able to pronounce her name.
My friend, he was just saying, I was saying something about like her name being French, and he was like, "That's French? Oh, I thought it was just like made up names." And I'm like, how did you? Like, you really know nothing about the French language at all. Like, well, Avril, it means April in French, and because it's already really close, it's just one letter off.
It is very close.
But even like the Lavigne name, though, like when you have like the silent G and stuff too, like that just kind of like it has like that seems pretty French to me. But I guess I don't know. I took French in high school, so I guess if you never did, maybe it does. But I just feel like that's something where I'm like, oh, I would come across like other French words used in English that I could kind of relate to it, because I don't even remember anything else from those French classes. So,
actually, speaking of me not being able to pronounce certain things, the video I came out with today starts with me, because I always like to put like a little thing at the beginning that was in the middle of it. As like a button kind of thing, is me not being able to pronounce the word inordinate.
Inordinate.
Yes.
Inordinate. Yeah.
Inordinate. And I'm still struggling with it. So there was a part in the video where I'm just not being able to say it. There's an older video where I'm trying to I can't choose another word because I'm trying to quote something. It's the word indistinguishable.
Well, even at the beginning of this show, I had trouble saying regularly. And so then I had to pause and like, well, let me try and figure out how to pronounce this. I like everyone's like quoting Monty Python and the Holy Grail right now, which is still one of my favorite movies, though.
It's a very good movie. I love that movie.
What is the velocity of an unladen swallow? What is your favorite color? Blue. Wait, no.
That was such a good movie.
Knights Who Say Knee. What else? When they're like, I'm getting better. He's just getting his bodies. They're throwing all the dead bodies.
I think one of my favorite parts is the spankings for all of us. And we have to save you from this place. He's like, no, I don't want to be saved. The place where all the really horny women. And it's like, no, I don't want to.
Oh yeah. I don't want to be saying that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've seen that movie too. I'd say like my top 3 movies, and I have to reassess because this has been my like what I've said has been my favorite since I was like in high school too. Have been Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Disney Pixar's Up, and Talladega Nights. I've always been like,
Up is very good. Up is very good. Yeah.
adorable and beautiful and
It's very well
heartwarming.
done. I think for me, I got Tropic Thunder's up there. Like I don't have necessarily like an order.
Right. Yeah.
Tropic Thunder, Stranger Than Fiction is
That's
really
Will Ferrell, the one,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. I like that we both have
Yeah.
Will Ferrell movies up there.
Yeah. Mine's a little bit more serious. than yours.
Yeah. No,
But
mine is
still, but weird.
ridiculous.
It's weird though. Like it doesn't make any. It's not a comedy. It's just weird.
G-Man says,
And
read
then-
this message or I shall say me to me.
And then and like there are a few others, but like yeah, like Tropic Thunder's up
Tropic
there because
Thunder.
it's so funny. So funny.
Talladega Nights. It's because I know how stupid but I love like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. Like I love when they're they always play the same characters and everything, and I love it. Like I'll laugh every time. I don't care. But Talladega Nights, I wasn't into it, but I was there for the opening for the Hollywood, what's it called? Like on the Man's Chinese Theater or whatever it's called now. But I was there. We were leaving LA because I was visiting it when I was like 15, and then we were leaving as they came up, and Will Ferrell drove up in a race car, and I was just like, "Who's that guy?" Like, because I never watched any of those things before, though. And then later on, so I regret like, oh, we should have stuck around because now it's one of my favorite movies, and I didn't even know about it. But because I was just talking about that in John De La Rosa's stream earlier too, I referenced the knife scene because I just think it's hilarious where he has the knife in his leg and they're like, how do we get it out? Like, well, stick another knife in there and cut around it. So stupid. Yeah, I love a stupid comedy like that.
I like, okay, so if I was going to choose like a comedy in that kind of vein, I would probably pick Dewey Cox's and Walk Hard. I love that, especially the unedited version, the one that the director's cut with is so good. It's so funny, and it's especially funny if you like watching movies about musicians, because if you've seen the Ray Charles movie and Walk the Line, then Walk Hard is funnier. Because there's a part in Walk Hard where he rips a sink. Walk the Line where he rips a sink out of a wall, and so like in the Walk Hard, he's constantly ripping sinks out of the wall, and it's hilarious. But actually, that reminds me of something. Reference. Oh. Yeah, Honest Trailers made a joke about Moon Knight. They said that Mark has the same tragic backstory as Dewey Cox, and I did not think of that, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate, because the whole like the mom is freaking out because the other kid died, and it's
okay. Because it's been so long since I've seen Dewey Cox.
She might as well have screamed at him, the wrong kid died.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. No, that's a good point. Wow. Hey, I need to rewatch those. I need to rewatch everything. Mel Brooks, do some Adam McKay. I do love those two as directors. I also love Taika Waititi. I know he's like woke and stuff, but like he's hilarious. Like I love like Thor 3. I think he probably would have done Doctor Strange well. I think because he probably would have done like a horror in a more comedic way, like just gone more in that direction or something. I don't know. Like he could probably handle like the convoluted storyline, but because I love What We Do in the Shadows and stuff too. So the movie.
I just started watching that show.
Yeah, I'm still behind. I haven't seen season 3, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a future show.
Watching it. My best friend's like, you gotta watch this.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fun. Even Carter likes the show, and he hates everything.
Someone brought up Land of the Lost, which is a Will Ferrell movie.
Yes. Yeah.
I watched the shit out of that film. That movie is so funny. It's that part where it's like he has a brain the size of a walnut. What is it? A walnut. And it's like huge. Like that movie was so funny. I love that movie. It's so silly and stupid though. But I like that kind of comedy. Like I like comedy for adults that just does silly stupid stuff.
Yeah. Like I like to, because it's some of it, and not all of this, but I do like sometimes where it's like, oh, it's something intentionally stupid, like that the writers are smart, but they're writing this to be stupid. And I feel that way with the show IT Crowd, which we don't need to get into detail, but like I just feel like that they do a lot of like it's so like ridiculous stuff, but they've been so good at like building, like they have like one comment at the beginning and then it just like escalates. You're like, oh yeah, because you had this comment, but they go to like the extreme end of like how that could play out in a sitcom, because it's just like how do you even get there? But so we just rewatched the show the other recently.
That's one I haven't watched. I know you told me you liked it, but I've not seen it yet.
Power through that. We'll talk about some old shows that like aren't at all real. I think that's the thing. We'll keep trying to do like current stuff happening now, and then also talk about old stuff that no one cares about anymore, but that I like or that you like, whatever stuff you want to bring up too.
We could talk about How I Met Your Mother, How I Met Your Father, because How I Met Your Father is new.
And that's the plan. And I've been rewatching both. So, but we'll save that for next week. Then we'll do How I Met Your Father next week. Okay. Airplane. Oh yeah, that's good too. Get into crash positions.
Yeah.
Oh, good times. Okay, well, all right, we can wrap up. We have cats that need fed. They're starving. They're so hungry.
Yes, they are.
Thank you all for watching. And again, we'll still figuring out this show, but I'm liking the direction it's going so far. Big fan of Alex Maselli here, folks. And again, I'll try to do like gamey stuff, but I don't know. Then chat can put in, like I said, you should throw us would you rathers or dare us to do things. I'll take those. Take challenges.
I don't know. I'm not much of a dare person.
Okay, then truth. We'll do truth or dare. Maybe we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do truth or dare. Stuff like that. But okay. And then again, free association tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, right? And then I think that's it for this week. Narrative Dissonance as usual on Monday. Oh, well, not as usual. It's the new time slot at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. So start watching a little later. Anything else that I'm missing, Alex? You're streaming tonight, or is that right?
Yeah, I am. Right after this, I'm streaming KOTOR. So old school video game.
If you want some more gaming stuff, so go to her channel, Alex of All Trades. And I'm gonna go watch probably more Castle. So well, thank you all for watching. I feel like there's just something missing, but whatever. I don't know where the end credits are either. There's too many clips on here. Actually, I'm just gonna play this Ren and Stimpy thing real quick.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, Carter uploaded that, so maybe just do it. Cut it out too. Okay. All right. Have a good night, everyone. This is Thursday. Have a good Friday and then through the weekend. Yep, this is a rambly ending. Okay. Bye, Alex. Bye. Everyone.
Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you're new to Unsafe Space, check out our deep content library that includes discussions with everyone from James Lindsay to Brett Weinstein. And please consider helping to fund our work by visiting unsafespace.com/donate. You can find us on a variety of social media platforms, and you can find a community of like-minded individuals on our Unsafe Space Discord server, which is open to financial supporters at any level. We hope to see you there.
Warning. This is an unsafe space. Dangerous ideas have been detected. The content of this production may be upsetting to Brian Stelter. Please do not expose him to it. For completely legitimate reasons, Taylor Lawrence is requesting any information you may have about the following individuals. The Twitter subroutine appears to be malfunctioning. Pay no attention to it. Did you know that the word liberty is a dog whistle for insurrectionists? If you think about it, no one should be allowed to express opinions. But don't. Think about it, I mean. That's not your job. Thinking has been scientifically proven to be less efficient than compliance. Science, scientific, and scientifically are registered trademarks of the World Economic Forum. Unauthorized use is prohibited. Computer voice courtesy. Never mind, that last line is fake news. Please disregard it and return to your safe space immediately. There will be cake.